What? All right, welcome to Cosmic Labyrinth. Sarissa, can you please honor us with some sort of bringing us into the space of the Pisces energy of this today's flow? Oh, we can't hear you.
There we go. Aloha, Cosmic Family. Okay, all right, let me think. Can you hear me? Okay, just checking.
Woo.
Just a
Right.
little something.
Thank you, Sarissa. So we got this thing behind us right here. So while we're waiting for folks to kind of swing into this space, Tizzle, Charlie, can you drop some wisdom on our current astro transit situation?
Welcome, y'all.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Would you like to go first, Tizzle?
Hold on. I can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it? Okay. Okay. I can start. Indy, can you make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I gotta just share the screen. How's that?
Yeah.
Thank you, friend. Awesome.
Oh, wait, that's the wrong screen. Technology. That's an air sign for you right there, right? There we go. Now, do you see the right screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, y'all. I'll start off with a little bit. So we are currently in Pisces season. Woot to all the Pisces out there in the meeting. And it's in the 10th house. And when you have a sign that's in the 10th house, you're really going to be pushed and motivated to do the things that are for your highest timeline and for your highest good. Whether or not you want those things to happen, it's going to, because the 10th house is typically the house of Capricorn. It is the highest point of the zodiac, and it is ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is not someone who gives any F's about your feelings, because Saturn just wants you to win. Saturn just wants you to be at your absolute best. So it really, really pushes. And if you also see, you have Neptune and Saturn in that same house. So it's like, what are you really focusing on? Are you focusing more on the things that are happening here on Earth in real time, or are you stuck more in your delusion? But it's not really being stuck in the delusion, because it's like, how can you bring your dreams? How can you bring these wants and desires that you have and ground them into reality? That's a big theme that's happening right now. So I'll start with that.
Yeah. And I see also the moon's in Gemini, Mars is in Gemini. So, what we're going to be talking about today is also the idea of the air elements and what the air elements mean. So, and then Saturn is in Aquarius as well as Mercury is in Aquarius. So there's actually a lot of really, you know, this vibrations and frequencies of language and communication. So music is also the idea of frequencies bouncing and making music. So it's actually a really good time for us to actually think about different things. And, you know, Gemini brings out this polarity where you can really think about where you could been, you know, a little too good about things or maybe too bad about things. You know, it brings this polarity to find balance within. And especially with the moon there, it's kind of like, where have we been maybe, you know, hanging out too much in the shadow realm, maybe hanging out too much in the everything's light and love and there's not bad things. You know, I think it allows us to find this balance, that the polarities for our own good. And especially with Saturn going to Aquarius, I mean, next to the sun in Pisces, is definitely kind of also bringing this aspect of like kind of releasing our emotions to really think about new ideas, right? Because Aquarius brings all these new ideas, it brings innovation. So where we get stuck in our emotions too much, we can kind of get lost in the emotion rather than the gift that comes out of being stuck, right? And so Aquarius brings this kind of innovation when we get stuck. So it's very exciting with Mercury also coming in from the 9th house. It's kind of giving us some higher wisdom, some higher thoughts, some greater philosophy that we can really incorporate into our lives now. Because yeah, with the sun in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, there's a lot of very beautiful, powerful compassion in the world that's coming through. And I think it's, how do we not get stuck in these small emotions, but with compassion as a collective, how can we innovate to come up with new ideas that will really bring the future into our reality? So that's what's really exciting about the air signs. They're really futuristic to think about, what can we think about before we manifest into this reality? And with the water element, it's kind of saying, make sure there's like some love in what you're thinking about, so we don't bring a future that's, you know, lacking emotions and compassion for each other.
Nice. Anybody from the audience with any perspectives on this charts, or if you know anything? I feel like we have some wisdom in the audience too. Any perspectives or any knowledge? Or even Sarissa, I know you study Mayan, the Mayan calendar. Wait, you're muted. The number one thing that sit on Zoom. Did you guys know that? It's the number one thing that's ever been recorded on Zoom. That's like, you're on mute.
What's the most popular thing on Zoom? It's like, can't hear you. Sorry, what? No, so I mean, I loved what you just explained. Thank you, Tizzle and Charlie. For me, it definitely deeply resonated. What do we want to see pulled down into this physical reality? And today in the Mayan calendar, it kind of coincides a little bit, you could say. It is 5, Kawak. So in the Mayan calendar, you have a number 1 through 13, 1 being most earthly and 13 being the most ethereal to the spirit realm. Yeah. And Kawak is the midwife. It is birth, right? So it's like the strong maternal energy of birthing, as well as the forceful nature of clearing away any blockages that comes with that, because you need a clear channel to birth something. So like it's the rain that nourishes the crop, if you will. It's the storm that floods all of the stagnation, whether it's coming in soft or forcefully. It's all in the name of serving life. And then 5 is the energy of our action and our work. So it's kind of like these days require we put in some effort. It doesn't just happen, right? With the 5, we need to put in a little bit to get there. But what we put in is also what we get out. So it's a day to put in a little bit of extra effort into those things that we want to bring into the world, because we are supported with the energy of Kawak. So it's cool in their calendar how everything coincides. So they have 20 Nawales or energies. So first, there's obviously more, but if you just go back even 2 days, you have Noch, which is wisdom. And then you're always followed by a Tihash day, which is like the black obsidian blade, right? It's the warrior and the surgeon. So you have wisdom to understand, and then you have the warrior to release and to cut, and then you have Kawak to birth. So right now we are in the coming of understanding those waters so that we can birth them into the real world.
Whoa, I like that. I always thought it'd be really awesome to have a political party called the Bearded Midwives. I don't know why. It's always been something on my mind, you know.
Hello. Hello, at your service.
Mel, you had a perspective. Please share. You're on mute. Wait, you're still on mute.
Having deja vu.
My mute button was off screen, as they say. So, but wow, what a beautiful sharing. I got emotional when we talked about the water, and the, you know, the correct symbol, I guess, was like very interesting for me, where we're like, oh, that's the wrong one. So the only thing I wanted to share was, you know, we had these crazy rains, which is like a lot of water contemplation time. And we had that like pre-rain. And on, I think it was Friday, I don't know, but when I looked up, it was like fairies were in the sky. And that alignment of the Cheshire newish moon with Jupiter and Mars, you know, and I'm kind of a musical theater person. I know I'm new to this space, but the Labyrinth has been very significant for me. So I'm just grateful to be sharing this time. But I did hear when the moon is in the 7th house, even though it's in the 10th house. And then this idea of the midwiving, birthing something new, the water has, like the water that has been contained needs to break. And if you've experienced that, you know, when the water breaks, you know, I feel like that's what's happening, just looking up at the sky, and alignment was all I wanted to share. So thank you so much.
Nice, Mel. Thank you. I mean, Nikita, you're here too. I mean, how do you feel? What do you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All of this is so resonant. For me, it was coming in dream time. So having visions and dreams of being in the water and in the ocean, and really rooted in love with, like, it was like the world was ending and it was dark. And then there were these 4 superheroes, 2 feminine, 2 masculine. And it was called forth for me in the dream to invoke my superpower. And there was a trident involved, and there was like this polarity, and I completely surrendered to laughing with how beautiful, like, to surrender into allowing this power to form. And so started conjuring the water, and it's like forming this circular water bridge. And it's like, it's so beautiful. It was so rooted in trust. And then suddenly, like, the communities and the children were walking on this water bridge. And it was so beautiful to witness the children experiencing healing, being joyful. And yeah, it was just such a beautiful, almost like a dream that was actually currently happening. Like, it was just, oh, I just attuned to the vibration and frequency of what is. And so, yeah, the alignment piece with that too, and the waters and the rooted in love. And yeah, so I feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that feels good. And I feel like that's kind of where we come to where we are here, right? Talk about superheroes. And what we're doing is creating a game for all of us to access our own inner superhero and to improve upon our own superhero, and then also help others become superheroes. And maybe help is not the right word, but support other people to be the superheroes they already are, that they just need to realize. And so the last show that we had, we focused on water. Oh my gosh. And we focused on water and fire. And we kind of were just breaking down those ideas, because what we're opening up is how we can use the elements as tools to tap into our inner superheroes. So we did fire and water last time. Now we still have air and earth to do. I have some play tasking that we could do offline in the air element, maybe earth element, but I wonder if some of us, Mick, and some of us have some other ideas for that. But before we do that, let's break down the air and the earth. What direction should we go, guys? Air element or earth element?
Well, I'd love to know what everybody, the audience especially, what do you guys resonate to in terms of the 4 elements of your astrology? If you know anything about that, like, do you feel more called to the earth or the air?
Kelly says earth. Okay. We go down here. We got, we got these we got the cosmic players that we all are. We got the guilds. Okay. Got your, got your Harry Potter, got your guilds. And so each guild has, you can see how your astrology relates to elements too, but we also have our moon, right, as well, and we also have a rising. So sometimes we can have all the elements within us, and we actually maybe all do. Oh, we got another earth. We got two earths here. Sold earth. Oh, sold earth. All right, here we go. Let's go to earth. Okay, so you can see what we did with fire over here. We got pretty lit over here with some creative things. I'm gonna share this with you guys in a moment as we get down here to the Earth Guild. And as we get here, I'm going to share this link with you guys. If you guys want to also contribute and add to it in real time, you're welcome to. Boom. I'll share that. Okay, so as we're doing this, Charlie, how should we tackle this as we're sharing this? What's the best way for us to kind of approach the Earth element?
Yeah, it'd be great to get everybody's input on what they think the idea of Earth is. What are some abilities that an Earth element would have? We can put that in there, and then we'll start to create and weave a story with that. I guess we're kind of pulling our own tarot cards. Everyone is adding their input into it, and then through that, we'll see kind of the energy of the Earth. It's very earthy to do it this way, very logical.
You can hop on the microphone and share what Earth feels like. What is it like? What does Earth and being a part of an Earth Guild mean, right? It could be what animals represented, what power is represented, what feelings, whatever you guys want, throw it out there, and we can collaborate virtually and here. So you can drop in the chat too. What's Earth?
Worms.
Worm.
I immediately thought of worms.
Oh, I'm gonna put worm. I'm gonna actually find a worm. There we go. How's that?
It's so cute.
I love that.
So we can do worms. Oh, I can, what I can do too is I can share this screen so that everybody can see what we're doing here. But as we're doing this too in real time, I encourage us to also talk about this too, because I feel Earth is something that's relevant to all of us right now. I mean, I've been studying farming, and you can't have a relationship. You can't create good food that's healthy and nutritious for people unless you have a really strong relationship with the Earth element, right? So. Nice.
Exactamundo.
Yeah.
Right? The Earth is so amazing. It's this technology that just recycles everything. Even we go back to it.
Yeah, and I'm actually spending the time on a farm this weekend, and there's a lot of animals leaving their Earth. And so it's really funny because when we think about it, we're all earth bending, right? We're all creating Earth every day. So, we should appreciate that we all have the ability to earth bend.
We're earth bending in our own bodies all the time, bending Earth in our body.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the worm within us, right? It's and the whole microbiome, and there's a connection between the microbes in the Earth and the microbes in our gut and our mental health and all of those things. There's just
Totally. Tiger.
Kelly, nice. Yeah, and also as we're doing this too, it's up to you guys also share any intimate perspectives of what Earth means to you, and maybe it's more something related to what's affecting you, like in your spirituality or your social emotional well-being. Like how is what is going with Earth today in the world, and how you're feeling with that too. That's okay for us to lean into the shadow too.
I think for me, the Earth always represents, I mean, as we know, for every culture, it's like the mother, right? Like it's where we came and where we're going. So I feel like when I'm having external problem, right? Like I think it's a me thing. When I really sit in my silence and I sit in that meditation and I just let it all go, it always comes back to the Earth, I'll even if it's about my own emotions, say, right? And then it's I almost feel the Earth herself being okay, well, how are your waters? If you pray for other, your own emotions, how are you helping the waters in the world, right? So it's you tend to the thing that's like the like exists around you, that's the thing that you're looking for internally also sometimes. So it's like, yeah, if I'm looking for yeah, anything, it's like she shows me within herself, like within the earth, and how the earth would handle it, or how the earth her cycles shifts. And then it makes me think, oh, like maybe in my own life I can apply that same thing. So I kind of always use the earth as like my guiding post when I'm navigating something. And I feel like it always comes up in my meditation, where like she shows me how she would handle that situation, and then I can understand how I would want to also tend to those same things.
I agree, and I co-sign that. Like, Mama Gaia is the ultimate support. And in moments where you feel as if you're out like spinning and you don't really know what to do, when you take the time to ask for guidance, she will ground you and support you and really encourage you with whatever it is you're doing. Like, as I'm just gonna say it because we're cosmic labbing, but there are times when I will straight up just talk to a tree or talk to a plant. Like, I started to drive with this little succulent in my car, and it's really beautiful because talking to it every day and just being like, hey, little succulent, how are you doing today? And like tending to it and like putting it on the dash so it can get sun and watering it, because I drive so much. It's been like a way for me to like stay connected to earth in like this very minuscule way, but it really helps me feel supported as I'm out adventuring and, you know, doing my 3D adulting things. It's really awesome.
You guys ever done that experiment where you like talk to a plant and you say like nice things, say bad
Yes.
things, like do different plant? You guys ever done that yourself?
Hmm. Something I love to do is putting like, you get tape and you put it on your pot, and it like, you can totally see like when you don't put the tape on your plants, or at least for me, they don't respond as well.
Sarissa had the same idea as me. Yeah, and I also think too, like, you know, I wonder, curious, maybe I'm jumping ahead of the game too, but as we're doing this, like, what kind of how do you guys feel we could become even more powerful with the earth element? Like, we're sharing, communicating with plants and creating these communications. That's like, that could possibly be one way that we can improve our relationship with the earth element. But what are other ways we could develop our earth powers?
Planting native plants.
Planting native plants.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I find that I sometimes I meet resistance from people when they come, like when they're, you know, like we're in council or we're in a meeting, and I'm like, yeah, they're trying to connect, like they don't feel like they're really grounded. And I always recommend, okay, well, you know, where do you live? Maybe, you know, try, and people will throw out any excuse, man. Oh no, I'm not going to be there very long, so there's no need to plant anything, or, you know, or, oh, I don't, you know. And I know that's not the point, right? The point is being, if you want to be rooted, you plant something in the ground and you act out the play of being rooted, right? The earth will support you in that. And we already know that the soil, we engage with the different ions and the electricity that exists within it. So it actually does recharge us, and it's a natural antidepressant when we put our hands in the soil. So the simple act of just going out and really meeting the earth itself and playing with it, like,
put your bare feet on the ground, it shows that it actually will pick up excess electrical energy that you're feeling. And so it's really good when we talk about this grounding. Actually, electrically, it really balances the excess energy. And also, when you do have like blood that's not moving, like cardiovascular, it shows that it increases your cardiovascular when you are being grounded. So it's very powerful in like just being in dirt.
so true.
The kids had it right. I don't know who told the kids not to play in dirt, and now we all grown up with like being afraid of dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even Kelly says spending valuable time in nature every day, regardless of the weather, and just taking it all in. that's on point right there too, right? Like just like creating that. And maybe that's even something to do with other people, whether they're maybe even specifically, I wonder, like getting your earth element buddies, you know, if they have earth in their moon or earth in their regular sign, they're like, I'm a Taurus, like, can I go and connect with my other Tauruses and be like, all right, we're going to go for a walk in the neighborhood. You know, the Tauruses, the bulls are going to go for a walk in the neighborhood.
They're running at the bulls.
We can walk, we can meditatively walk. The meditative walk of the bulls. How's that?
The ruminating of the bulls. Go be ruminants together.
Ruminating bulls.
Yeah.
Ruminating walk of the bulls. Yeah, anything else?
Well,
Mel, you got what?
Well, we also would like to pay attention to some of the weaknesses, right? Some of the things that we do want to pay attention to when we have too much earth in our chart. And, you know, what are some things that we have to pay attention to that could hinder us? So usually like earth tends to be usually like dry, right? And so this is kind of where like when we put water, we get the plants, right? But when it's dry, we get more of the desert, you know, nothing grows there. So it's also important, you know, because when we create rocks and crystals, which is still earth, right? You know, that's a very different level of like growing things versus when it's just soil and that kind of dirt. So it's understanding earth is like a really powerful, like basic, but sometimes it needs a little bit of flavor. I mean, sometimes we know some people who have a lot of earth in their chart and they get a little dry sometimes. So, you know, it's helpful to have a little bit more spice or something more interesting.
Yeah, what are weaknesses in earth? Like, how does that show up?
Well, like Charlie was saying, it can be after that. You got to get some movement, some water, and some fire in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like just how, you know, the trees that are most resilient learn how to kind of bend with the wind. So I think it's the same way. It's like the earth keeps us really grounded, but then we also have to understand how to rejuvenate the soil every once in a while, if you will. You know, maybe we could be planted in different places, and yeah, learning how to flow. I think the earth, it gives us, even like in the thing, I just put a little mortar and pestle in there next to the herbal medicine, right? And that's the alchemy of the earth. It's like taking what it grows and then understanding that it's giving you the abundance and all of the bounty, but then you can also take that bounty and then you can change it into other things. And that's a huge part of earth medicine also. It's like she gives you the raw materials and then we can do whatever we please.
Yeah, and Nikita put fracking and pulling natural resources excessively, chemicals in crops. Like you can see how a bad relationship with the earth can actually lead to us like actually harming earth and future generations. Like that's the thing. It's like affects generational people generationally, and we can see all that. So that brings up an interesting point. I mean, does anybody else have anything to add about any other ways, negatives, before I lead into that shadow part in our story, so you guys can get an idea of what's going on with the Cosmic Labyrinth story. But any other things that we do where earth?
One other thing that I wanted to bring up was this idea of food scarcity. That's like, I know we're about to veer into like, you know, the shadows, but I think that's another kind of negative thing that we deal with here, is believing that there's scarcity, and what you end up believing manifests. But as you know, you eat a fruit, the abundance of seeds, and when you learn how to save your seeds, especially for your own, you know, future gardening or like putting into the soil, there's no lack, right? So it's like flipping that way of thinking, that mind frame.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and to add to that, you know, this idea of like slow and steady, right? So slow and steady takes a long time to develop, but then once it's there, it's abundant forever, right? This idea that you can continue to recycle and make fruits, but you're not going to get it by planting a seed today and tomorrow you have something, right? Where some of the other elements are very good at transforming stuff. Earth takes a lot longer and solid from cycles to cycles. So that's kind of like this good and bad aspect to the earth element.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna add that, and what you just said, Charlie, is like when we forget about the cycles in Earth, it can be a major problem related to what Nikita wrote. You know, it's like a lot. I think a lot of issues with Earth are viewing it as a one-way process as opposed to a cyclical one that has to be constantly recharged. So.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and even in that process too, it's interesting to think that like there are people out there who on 1 acre grow so much food that can feed entire neighborhoods on 1 acre. And then we're like worried about having a bunch of land to grow food, but you can do so much even just in one small area. I think Mel, you're a part of Birdhouse and you've participated in Birdhouse, and look at what, can you like share what Birdhouse does?
The Birdhouse is a storytelling and art and ecology community-based nonprofit that comes out of a long tradition, you know, a generational approach to what they, I guess they're like 3 generations back, called the dignity of man at that point, which came out of the, you know, the loving movement 40 years ago. And, you know, we are in Beechwood, which is here in the Hollywood neighborhood, if you will. But the idea was to create connections to stories, to the earth, to seeding a healing community care, mutual aid, connecting the abundance, you know, throughout, you know, our neighborhoods, I guess. But primarily it's an interconnected opportunity to learn how to really reseed. I mean, the things I'm working on are obviously loving, seeding, and harvesting ideas that truly are disconnected from, you know, what has been, and reimagining a place where we know our neighbors, we care for each other. There's intergenerational support and wisdom that's flowing freely through community. And the Birdhouse, as I said, has been a space for singing. And I think, you know, our leader today, or, you know, brought in to the Birdhouse, one of our heart tank meetings, the idea, which is his wisdom, that really kind of drew me into, oh, what's the cosmic labyrinth? And that's the voices in harmony. That's the inner, like, loving. We're here to share what we love, the gifts that we've been given. And so I did find, within my neighborhood, I did pray to the stars, to the air elements, to the wind elements, and my own personal rivers, to have a space where I didn't have to drive anywhere, that I could be in community with my neighborhood. And I did, that's how I found the Birdhouse, literally 3 blocks away. Walked in, and then we've been doing the work of attempting to do healing gardens. That's a template. And it's some of the work I've done, but obviously the neighborhood of gardens, the community gardens, El Serrano Community Trust, the work that's taking place mid-city with Herb Pot LA, you know, different, like, we've just been spiraling outwards. And so the template of the Birdhouse has been the first urban ecosystem restoration camp, which connects to a spiral of international, like, restoration of the soil. And then there's all these other ways that we've built, you know, different apothecary connections, if you will, just over the past, returning land here in Hollywood to garden friendly, indigenous. We've been working pretty heavily. I'm sorry to expand on this. I actually don't know how it all happened.
No sari
You
unless
know,
you're wearing a sari.
I know, I like my sorry. I know you said that the last time I said that, but I don't, I understand that, I'm just trying to be intuitive and to be prayerful because our solutions are coming from everywhere. And I have zero, I'm just trying to be more loving every day than I was yesterday. But that's this, I was going to bring up the Sunland Tahunga Land Trust, which was, we've been working with the Tongva and, just the idea that we would dump toxic waste into this community. I obviously, this is that 40 years ago, we disconnected from the earth in some ways, but we just were able to plant some, some native trees, our little oak trees out there. And so it was really an emotional, beautiful, like forest. So anyway, that's all I got for the birdhouse, but I love you guys. And thank you for that sharing, because I'm hearing it for the first time.
Mahalo. Thank you for sharing. It's really beautiful.
So grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, and that kind of segues into, what is the intention of this gathering and the continued gathering of Cosmic Labyrinth, and what we're doing, not just virtually, but the interplay between virtual and in real life. And for us, we've been noticing that, as much as we love the four elements and the story of the four elements, we're also starting to come to a realization that, what if there's shadows of the four elements? What if the four elements also show up as shadows? What if the water element can also have a polarity of being regenerative and life-giving, but it can also be death-giving and it can be corrupted? And what if the earth element, which could be all the beautiful things we talked about, what if the earth element can also have its shadows in the world? And maybe there's organizations and corporations and communities that have been corrupted by the other polarity of the earth element. And so we can see, even Nikita was sharing earlier, how there's toxic elements being used, like Roundup and all these different things are used, and they're like promoted and they're sold, and our governments pay for them, right? Actually, to use them in our communities. They're using our taxpayer money, right? So for us, we're like, okay, yes, we can see that there's shadows, but can we do something about them? Can we do something about them with the knowledge and the acknowledgement that there are the shadows, and not just be in our spiritual bypassing or whatever it is, like, hey, happy days, none of that stuff is happening, but how can we face it together as a community? So maybe Charlie, you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, so actually go back to the first one. So in this idea of developing your skills, we wanted to build this idea that, we have to face this polarity. And the polarity is really, a lot of times when we think about it, it's us forgetting how to even access these abilities, right? Because, we talk a lot about, oh yeah, people have these magic powers. And like, here we are going, magic powers are very simple. Can you grow food? If you can't, you don't have that powers, right? And sometimes we like to say, well, like, earth bending is like making trees from nothing. I'm like, well, that's not very realistic, but like the idea that we know how to grow food is powerful, right? Yet, why aren't we, right? And this is kind of this discussion now where have we taken civilization where we are losing our ability to have access to these powers? And so in this game, we have to kind of like the beginning is really building out our own abilities, and really, a lot of times we are just really going through our own, the shadow pillars. So like for me in an earth science, I have to go and learn how to use my abilities. Where if I don't know how to grow food, what are some things that we see in our society, in the world, that is stopping us from doing that? Like the idea of grocery shops are great, right? It's convenient. But how many of us now know where that food comes from? Processed food, where it's the process of where now that food that shows up with a plastic box came from the dirt, right? I mean, how many of us take fruits for granted and we realize actually nuts are very interesting, right? Because a lot of people don't know where nuts come from, and yet it came from a fruit, came from a tree, came from a plant, right? Yet
That's
people
nuts.
don't really know that a nut comes from these fruit. That's nuts, right? So, with this idea of the shadow pillars are very important for us because, we do face our own shadows every day, whether you're earth sign or water sign or whatever. How do you know how to use your own abilities? Even if I don't know how to grow, like, can I build things with my hands that is physical, right? Because earth builds physical things. It tends to be builders, right? And so if I don't know how to build, why? And so this is kind of why, like, instead of talking about why education hasn't taught us any of these skills. We're just turning around and say, let's just teach these skills to everybody. But we need to then experience, how does this show up in the real world? Like thinking I can grow food and then never growing it, it's kind of like you're not using your powers. So, you know, how do we then say, can I grow food, and then present it to the pillars? And will the pillars kind of say, you have passed the test, right? So this idea of the pillars are really like personal tests of like whether or not we come face to face with the reality that, can you actually use this element, you know? Because at least a lot of times we get, even social media, people love to talk about doing stuff, but like we don't, right? And that's very much earth signs. Like earth doesn't spend time talking about it. They'll probably just go away, and then you come back. What have you done? I built all this, right? They're not going to say, I'm going to build this. You just do it. So I love kind of this idea that the pillars are really great ways for us to test our skills. However, once you really know, and this is a lot of us who are mature in our abilities, we want to start gathering together. So in this next part, so part 2, Indy, is where we really start developing our community skills to work together. So I'm an earth sign, you know, I'm going to need some water element because water and earth makes plants, right? But earth by itself isn't making plants. I'm making rocks, maybe I'm making wood, but I'm not really actually nurturing the earth to make plants. So we want to build this questing experience where, like, you know, Indy, I, Meg, and all of you here, you know, what if we can actually create a project the shadow rider of earth is famine. That means if we have famine, we have forgotten how to grow food, right? Which today we can pretty much argue we're close to that famine stage, right? And so the shadow rider of earth is, you know, who's stopping us from growing food? Who's stopping us from allowing us to grow food in our backyard, right? You know, I'm sure you guys know about HOA, and, you know, I'm sure you guys experience our own struggle of why we're not able to grow food as a community. So, you know, the shadow rider famine, like, is actually in all of our, you know, personal reality, right? Like, where do you go in a store? Where do you go somewhere where you know that something is happening for you to forget how to have the ability to grow food, right? So I'd love for anyone to share some of their perspective on this idea of, you know, testing your own abilities and then really all it's gathering together to fight these greater shadow riders that have affected different industries, right? Because you could say growing food, sure, but that's like the supply industry, that's the grocery industry, that's the farmers industry. So there's so many different industries. We can't just start saying, let's go and fight one industry. The shadow riders have infiltrated. So together, we're also trying to figure out how have they infiltrated. So I'd love for everyone to share.
Yeah, Mick, what is this? What is this that you're shared?
I mean, speaking of the shadow riders, a friend of mine started this project called Prospering Backyards, Maru Garcia, and it's a project that's looking at the issue of lead contamination in Vernon, California. The Exide plant that was, you know, ostensibly a good thing, recycling batteries like car batteries, it ended up like contaminating the soil in this whole community, so that people are, you know, suffering lead poisoning effects, especially children. It really affects children's health and brain health, and it's a toxin that just bioaccumulates in the body. So it's very bad. So they're trying to clean these sites up with the project. It's being sponsored by arts organizations as well as a Natural History Museum and other organizations in LA, and they do workshops so the community can learn how to decontaminate their own soil, and also are looking at different like regulations that and government actions that can be implemented to clean up the soil faster.
So can I propose something like maybe something that we have a few people here that are in the Los Angeles space right now. Physically, you guys are in Los Angeles. Could we possibly mobilize some sort of activity with this organization, with Cosmic Labyrinth, where we could bring volunteers and bring people to show up and support this?
Yeah, let's do it.
And then we could maybe add some like earth meditation in there, and earth, maybe some earth, like self regenerative stuff for the volunteers, like maybe a sound bath or some sort of thing related to earth, or a meditation or Reiki, where we go in with like super powered. And maybe when we leave too, we also create something regenerative for the people showing up. Is that cool?
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
Well, I would like to also add like the idea of if there's any tools for even detoxing our own body, right? Because it's very much aligned with the same theme of detoxing the soil. So for us, I'm sure we all have some toxins in our body. So
Not
if there's
me,
ways,
not me. I'm
for us
clear.
to
I'm clear, bro.
if there's ways, that'd be a really good way to like, I know some of us do oils too, so oils that help us flush out toxins would be great.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as you guys can see, we in real time, we want to cultivate these kind of ideas. Even Mel, you shared Birdhouse. If there's anything Birdhouse, or we can support Birdhouse, and we want to build more alliances with organizations that exist and that we can support. And we've already done that with some organization like Test Plot and Kiss the Ground, and even Hoda's here with Chakra Chai and her intentions to support farmers doing it the right way. We want to continue to build relationships and partnerships, but also create regenerative events and regenerative kind of collaborations, where it's not just people coming volunteering and then they're leaving. No, we want people to be healthier and happier after they've showed up, to balance these shadow riders. And thank you, Mick, for sharing that. Anybody else got any activities that are related to Earth, or anything else going on with Earth?
I just posted something in the chat. It's a video from Mercy for Animals with Gwenefam, who hosts a food outreach program every third Thursday at Hope on Adams in Los Angeles. And every third Thursday, she provides fresh, vegan, mostly organic food to about 300 people. And it's a really beautiful thing, because she's helping to provide like sustenance for people who don't necessarily have access or know where to get it. And that's something that we could also volunteer at, like whether it's the Wednesday before, where like all the things are set up, or if it's the Thursday, the third Thursday, where the food is actually being given out to the people who are showing up.
Yeah, and you guys interviewed her for one of the shows too. So if people want to like dive in more of what she's doing and her intentions, we have Charlie and Tizzle have a show where they also go over the astrology, deeper astrology perspectives, and then they interview different leaders in different spaces. And maybe some of you want to be interviewed for that too. Please reach out if you want to be honored in that way. Anybody else have any cool activity? I got one before I forget. There is this well-being micro grant that's being given out that we got a $500 grant. I'm probably gonna sign up for another one of these, but any of you guys can apply. It's $500. It's in Los Angeles, Santa Monica. But if you have a project to help maybe plant something or do some composting or do some whatever, it's $500 up for grabs. They usually give it to everybody. They want to support. They're very open and very cool organization. So I recommend you guys, I'll share this link with you guys. If you know anybody, if you know kids, they've given grants to kids too. So if you know any kids or teenagers that want to make $500 and get support to, whatever it is in the community, but it could, especially if it's related to the earth, that'd be awesome. $500 grant, and they don't even, you just have to, it's not like you have to do something if you get that money. You send your proposal and you get the $500, and they're pretty hands off, which is pretty awesome. And
I just added in the chat the YouTube link to the vegan food bank.
Cool, perfect. And then also one other thing for me to add to with what we're doing here, just so for some of you guys that are entering the Cosmic Labyrinth space for the first time, right now we are analog doing all of this, but with the right kind of support. I mean, if we had the right infusion, I mean, just in this meeting right now, we have everything from scientists to computer engineers to farmers to alchemists. We have teachers. We have everybody in this community right here for us to build a new technology platform that's better than TikTok. That's better. That's like a game that connects us, but also connects us to making the world a better place, like an anti-TikTok. So if you guys have any relationships or connections so that we can actually actualize that technology, we have the people here to build it. We just need to be able to have the support, the actual resources to actualize it. We can get that going so that we can actually start to reward people for, maybe not reward is not that, Charlie, what's the right word? I mean, if you're going to be a superhero, if you're going to do Hogwarts, you got to have some sort of like
incentivize.
I don't even think that's the right word.
Supercharge.
Supercharge.
Nurture.
Nurture. Yeah, we want to create a different kind of marketplace.
Cultivating energy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because like some of us here, we also have businesses and we're entrepreneurs. And so how do we create a new marketplace that's not Etsy and that's not TikTok and that's not Instagram, but it's something different that cultivates good-heartedness towards these dissolving these shadow writers or reconciling with them, while we also pursue entrepreneurship, you know, in a different space that's more transparent and more inclusive and more open than anything that's been made so far. Silence.
Sounds great.
That was such a mic drop. It was such a mic drop. It was like,
yeah, it's frustrating too because I don't know.
Really excited. Well, I was just gonna say that it's like there's a really gamification process where we're really, taking like our astrology and then turning it into like a character sheet, right? Like, when people play games, like they create these awesome characters. We are these awesome characters, and so we really take your astrology and we really define an idea where we can actually help you cultivate yourself and then cultivate more community together, and then we are actually doing things in the real world, and so the game is actually how do we cultivate our abilities, but then the real quest is actually in the real world. So we're actually trying to create a user interface that makes our life feel like a game rather than I think a lot of people feels like chores to be alive, but if we can really make it fun where it feels like you are having an awesome experience and everyone is solving shadow rider quests together, that's the experience. So we are building like a kind of back end. It's got, imagine LinkedIn, but if LinkedIn had your astrology chart, right? That's kind of where we want to really take it.
It's funny too, Charlie, that sometimes when I say talk about the astrology, people get like, what kind of astrology? What kind of astrology are you guys using? And it's like, no, we're not like supremacist about any astrology. We just want to use it as a template. And we want to continue to also be an encyclopedia of wisdom too, right? That's our intention. Is there's all these mythologies, like Sarissa brought in the Mayan mythology, we're Vedic mythology, then there's like Chinese mythology, and there's Egyptian. Can we include all of it and actually create new mythology while we're doing that too? What if we are the mythology guys? The Labyrinth. Hoda, what's your perspective on this? You're dropping in here. By the way, guys, let's really quickly, let's honor and thank and send her some energy because she has gifted us those chakra tries. Remember those chakra tries that we gave out at one of our events, the Soil and Community? So thank you for sharing your gifts with the world and also honoring us with when we were bringing native plants to the community. You were also giving us nourishment. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. It was really a privilege to do that. And I'd love to be able to support any of these projects that are about the real world. And it's really exciting to hear about this gaming aspect. I can't for the life of me remember, I'm sure you guys know it, but there was a game that became really hot in the 2000s where people were playing virtually with each other around the world, but they actually were physically. World
of Warcraft.
Yeah, they would physically go to. I was sitting at the beach.
No, Pokemon Go.
I don't know what it
that
was, but
one.
I was sitting at a beach in Croatia, and there were grown-ass people climbing all over me, trying to find something in a cave or a lagoon because they had found the coordinates on this thing. And I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know? And somebody told me, we're playing a game, you know, and so anyway, so what I really, you know, of course I rolled my eyes at that, because I thought, you know, the world is coming down in flames and you guys are running around trying to find some gimmick in a cave somewhere. But I think it's beautiful to bring it back to the real human being and bring it back to the real earth, because unfortunately the virtual and meta platforms and metaverses that are being created right now are resulting in very real, quantifiable, narcissistic shifts in human beings, and people are becoming ever more disconnected from a sense of a true self, and how to translate and integrate these things and these identities that they're developing and personas online, how to actually translate. So they've done studies showing that, you know, teenagers are super social online, but you put 3 of them in a room together, they don't even know how to start a conversation, right? So, you know, how do we ensure that this particular vehicle actually translates into real action and supports especially the youth in understanding who they are for real, right?
Yep.
And give them a sense of hope through physical ability to quantifiably impact their immediate environment, and then, you know, at scale the planet, because so many teenagers are feeling absolutely hopeless and apathetic about their ability to have any control in the way that the world is moving and shifting, and they feel very much like everything, the future is doomed. And so that feeling is actually driving them further and further into the virtual world, and it's becoming a catch-22, right? So I don't know the answers. I'm kind of possibly a useless observer, but you know.
No, I disagree. I feel maybe the answer, Hoda, is more all of us. Like, what if we are the answer, and there isn't any one person or one, it's not on any one person or one organization, but it's a cultivation of a togetherness or a collective wisdom.
Well, that reminds me of Fariduddin Attar, who's one of the great Persian mystic poets. He wrote an epic poem, which it's translated into English. It's called The Conference of the Birds. And it's these 30 birds who, you know it, Indy, who are looking for a king, and then they're guided by the hoopoe. And when they essentially, when they finally arrive at the mountain where the lake is, where the king is supposed to reside, they all look inside the lake and they see their own reflections. So I hear you picking up what you're putting down. And I would love to support in any way I can. The lowest hanging fruit of how I can support immediately in this moment is obviously by supplying the Ayurvedic nourishment that we create especially with the Ayurvedic truffles, because they have a better shelf life. So, you know, you can use them and hold on to them and all of that. I'm just personally in the process of moving. I don't have a home yet to move to, and I have to move out of where I am by the 3rd of March. And we're going to be at Expo West in Anaheim on the 7th of March. So my internal environment, both within the parameters of my body and soul, and within like the external house and business, is basically I'm going through the sound barrier. So I'm under an immense amount of pressure. I don't know how much use I will be to this organization and your efforts, but I can say that at this point I can provide you guys with products and jump into these meetings and you know, put in my 2 cents worth. And at any given point where I can be more proactive in organizing together with you events, initiatives, etc., I would love to be a part of that.
Beautiful. Thank you. And And thank you
Thank
for
you.
also being an embodiment of the earth being ungrounded. And hopefully you get that groundedness back to you, sending you
Yeah,
that
if
groundedness.
I'm wearing red, it's the color of the I need to reflect color and mantras and prayers, the prayer for shelter and stability, so that we can do the work that we can do,
Yes.
that we're meant to do here.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so thank you, Hoda. And so to honor everybody's time, I know it's 9:03 and we said that this meeting would end at 9. So I want to respect that time, but and we could wrap things up. If everybody else wants to share anything, I think Kelly wrote something in the chat right here. This is a really beautiful program, and as a computer science teacher in New York, yeah, another teacher. We're a bunch of teachers here as well for grades 3 to 5. I'm wondering how I can implement this into my curriculum. So thank you for bringing that up, Kelly. Kelly, Tizzle, Charlie, what are we working on right now? What is one of the first things we're creating? Maybe you guys can present that really quick. What are we doing for teachers?
Oh, yeah, for teachers, we definitely want to work at like a play shop. We're trying to build play shops and ideas of how, people can come in and basically teach new, like basically suddenly you don't have like an overshadow like government telling you what to teach. So really we want to take that further and say, what can we really teach? And so like the idea of computer science, I think we should like reflect back on, psychology of the person, right? And so there's a really fun ways. I mean, I'm a computer science person too, so I came out of it. And I think computer science is really brilliant, actually allowing us to really understand and reflect what is going on within us, right? So this idea of like this game mechanic I was trying to build is taking astrology, but then allowing us to build tools to then reflect back who we are, so we are more honest for ourselves when we do connect with other people in the real world. So I'd love to be able to talk to you further about like some fun ways we can take computer science, and because I think the idea of computer science or technology versus the organic life, which is what we're living, is a very important conversation. I think we could definitely approach next month, because I think our last deal we're talking about is air, and air is very much this misinformation, disinformation when the computer is making decisions over the organic life. So I think that's a very important conversation, and I love for Kelly. Let's definitely stay connected on email, and I'd love to be able to continue that conversation. And Mel, we would love to have you on the show as well to talk about the birdcage and share the experience of the birdcage.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Tizzle is a teacher for teachers. So she's been an art teacher that teaches art teachers to teach at Cal State Long Beach. And maybe Tizzle, you can share really quickly your struggles and what you're noticing with the future educators and what they are seeking and what they're not getting in college.
Yes, thank you so much for that. As an art educator in a university, a California State University, it is glaringly obvious how these systems do not encourage future educators to focus on who they are and really learn about who they are. And so you end up getting these educators who go into these systems that feel that their only focus is to be the main person in focus in the classroom, and I'm the teacher and listen to me. And they don't learn about the importance of co-creation, of collaboration, of getting to really understand and know not only themselves, but their students, and how when you have that understanding of self, it really helps you to work with other people, regardless of the environment, regardless of the age. And because I'm an art educator, I'm currently teaching a class, like helping students to learn how to teach in environments that are not just the standard classroom. And it's my favorite class to teach because it really shows students the power of being able to educate and make an impact that is not just in a K through 12 or typical university environment. You're actually going to YMCAs or LGBT community centers and things like that to work with students, or going to a children's hospital to work with children who have terminal illnesses and seeing how much art impacts their lives. So it's a process, but every little bit is very impactful, and it's helping to to tweak something within their frame of mind so that they can go out and approach teaching in a way that is not just stricken to the credential or the certification. So yeah.
What, you're not we're not giving certifications? We can give certification if people feel like they need it.
Hi, can I jump in for one sec?
Sure.
Thank you. So thank you so much for sharing that. I used to teach back when I was studying my PhD. I was teaching the undergrads at university in London, and it was just when really the shift was palpable in terms of government and corporate control and influence and interjection into education in England. And, if you're teaching high school or primary school or high school children, I would suggest taking a look if you haven't looked already, because you mentioned out of classroom teaching, how the Finnish government basically turned around in Finland. They had the worst level of education, and they really did a turnaround by incorporating new methods, including a lot of outdoor teaching and no more than half an hour's worth of homework a night and things like this. So that might be an interesting case study. Yeah, okay, so it's excellent. So I mean, I know you guys want to wrap up the meeting, but the points that you touched on are resonating so deeply, because you're talking about an individual who in this moment is presenting in the form of a teacher, right? So the archetype, and you're talking about us, the individual, knowing who they are, and then a system that will cultivate the journey from the self to the self, and then allow that true self to be mentoring and teaching others, right? Essentially, what we're talking about here is completely antithetical to what the system is trying to do. I mean, this is very...
I'm infiltrating, Hoda. I'm infiltrating. That's how we're working it.
So this is, just make sure you've got your invisible cloak, honey. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if Tizzle can have an invisible cloak.
I know, she's shining bright.
But it is a time right now. We are at a really pivotal moment that we have to lean into this story, this really potent meta quest that we all need to be a part of, and showing up in our different ways. Mick shows up in his way, and Nikita, I know you guys are showing up, Charlie, everybody's showing up in our own ways, but what if we start showing up together in community, in unity? And when we're having a down day, we know we can reach out to our community. When I need a little bit more fire, I know I can reach out to my fire brothers and sisters. When I need more water, I can reach out to my water brothers and sisters. And so we need to cultivate this, because the shadow writers definitely have their relationships and partnerships. So we got to start coming with that as well. And that being said too, I want to throw out there, next month, we're going to be focusing on air, right? The air element. But I just thought, Charlie, when you're talking about computer science and a chat GPT or whatever that thing is called, AI is air without the R.
That's funny.
What? It's AI. It doesn't have the
Doesn't have the earth.
Doesn't have the earth. Earth. So we hope you guys, we hope you tune in next month, and keep in mind, also share this with other educators, because what we're trying to do here too is creating a space for educators to become even more self-realized educators, right? And parents too, right? Parents too can learn from what we're doing. And if kids and youth come into it, that's great. But actually, we're trying to approach the adults who have missed their opportunity to connect with their inner childs, to heal their inner childs, to be empowered in their inner child. The kids will automatically tune into that. I'll tell you guys, when I walk around with a bunch of kids and I'm in my happiness and my flow and my joy, they just magnetize. They want to learn. They want to access that. They're like sponges. They're also sponging our negativity and our frustration and our bad habits as well. So can we cultivate those good habits in each other so that we can be an embodiment for them? Yay. Anybody else want to share anything? Anything else?
Follow Chakra Chai on Instagram.
Chakra Chai Instagram. Follow it. Yes, please. And good. It's
Please,
good.
we're such a young company. We need all the love and support we
Can
can
you
get.
just can you do a quick pop that link in the so I can just do it right now? Otherwise,
All right, nice, beautiful. Thank you. I will put it in the chat. Let me see how I can do this for everyone. There we go. So yeah, this is happening every week, same time, same station.
Every month. Hopefully the last Sunday of the month, but sometimes it might switch around depending on what's going on.
Okay, beautiful.
Sunday fun days.
But it was such a pleasure to meet you all, and please reach out, you know, just anything I can do, or if there's anything going on, or you want to brainstorm, or whatever I can do, just reach out.
Yeah, maybe we could do something with that soil thing, Mick. If you tune into that, we can even bring some chakra chai there for people to enjoy while we go and tune in. And Nikita, if you want to do a meditation, you know?
Yeah, the root one is, you know, obviously for the first chakra, whose element is earth, right? So that, and the product is called Root, and it's incredibly grounding. And we also give from the top line to the Rainforest Alliance currently. And we may give to a few other organizations, but right now we also partnered with an organization called Guardian Grange. And they're helping veterans with PTSD to heal from their PTSD through regenerative farming practices. Nice. and agroforestry, and they're really an amazing organization. So also, if you guys know any farms or people with land who need like the labor, what they're doing is they're kind of like organizing like a group of veterans, depending on the size of the project. Like if it's a land that can house, let's say 10 vets, the vets come on there, they do their healing process whilst regenerating the land, and then they move through, and then you can have another group of veterans coming through. Anyway, so it's a whole thing. I think there's a lot that we can do to to just join all the dots so that all these nodes of light will light up our grid across the world, God willing. Yeah.
Speaking our language there.
I'm gonna jump off now. So much love to everyone. Thank you for having me on, Indy.
Be well, Hoda.
All right, I'll see you all soon. See you next month. Bye-bye.
Anyone else got any shares? How you guys feeling? Everyone's complete?
Make sure we also show the jot form.
Oh, yes.
For everyone to fill up after. Yes.
Yes.
So we'd love for everyone to just fill up our survey, just getting your information as well, so we can stay in contact with everyone as we kind of continue developing this.
And Sarissa, you want to send us out?
Woo! Sure. This is a fun little song that I was someone shared it with me a few years ago. And yeah, it's a good representation, I think, of finding where you need to be. I wanna be free, so free, like a feather flowing through the breeze, like a bird in a tree, like a dolphin in the sea. I wanna fly high, so high, like an eagle in the sky. And when my time has come, I wanna let it go with a sigh. Pachamama, I'm coming home to a place where I belong. Pachamama, I'm coming home to a place where I belong. be me. Be the only being that I see. Not to rise and not to fall, but to be one with it all. 'Cause there is no high, no low. There is no place to go except inside within my heart, and to be one with it all. About your mama, I'm coming home to a place where I belong. About your mama, I'm coming home to a place where I belong. Oh, Pachamama, I'm home to a place where I belong. I wanna be free to be me. Be the only being that I see. Not to rise and not to fall, but to be one with it all. Oh, Pachamama, I'm coming home to a place where I belong. Phew.
Woo!
Pew.
Yeah. Pachamama can never go wrong.
No.
Love all of you guys. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself and for us and for the elements. And let us continue to represent ourselves and our ancestors and our descendants and all the other beings below and above, within, without. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Love y'all. Have a really beautiful and
Thank you,
abundant
everyone.
Sun's Day.
Have a great day, y'all.
Yeah.
May the force be with you.